Wait, so I'm gonna do an intro. Wait, so I'm gonna do an intro. Wait, so I'm gonna do an intro. Good evening, we've made it. It's the second live show from right here in the Hyundai showroom, the Motors Inc. showroom. We have an exciting lineup today. Of course, it is a Q&A, so I am expecting your questions. Hopefully, I'll have some answers for you. We're of course giving away a hoodie today, so I'll be posting a link in the chat below to participate. We've already had a number of people who've entered their name to participate, so if you want to be in the chance to win a future Is Electric hoodie, the official merch, right? Make sure you fill in the link which I'm about to post in the chat. But as always, I'm Luke, and welcome to another episode of The Future Is Electric. Chance to win a future Is Electric hoodie, the official merch, right? Make sure you fill in the link which I'm about to post in the chat. But as always, I'm Luke, and welcome to another episode of The Future Is Electric. Chance to win a future Is Electric hoodie, the official merch, right? Make sure you fill in the link which I'm about to post in. Testing to the viewers out there, if you've got sound. Any comments? الكاميرا بيك. Test 1 2 test 1 2 test 1 2 سبديها من الكاميرا وكول بيتو بس السورس ليفر Test one. Sorry? Yeah, I know, I told. Sound is good now, apparently, someone said. To all those at home, can you confirm that our sound issues have been fixed? It started off well, but suddenly started echoing. Hello, hello, 1, 2, 3. So we're testing now. Make sure you get those questions queued up for me. We're going to get this fixed in a second. Seems okay now, Pete. Sound is good. All right, so we're going to try that again. So welcome to another episode of The Future is Electric. Welcome to the second live stream. Technical difficulties, but now we are back and we have a lot planned for today. Of course, it is a Q&A, right? So I do expect your questions in the comments section below. We're also giving away a Future is Electric hoodie. So make sure you go to the link and enter your details, because later on this evening you could be walking away with a Future is Electric hoodie. And we have one big surprise coming up later on in the evening, so you definitely don't want to go away and miss that. So I'm going to have a look at the comments. Let's see if we have any comments. The sound seems to be okay at this point, so thank you, Pete, for fixing that here. All right, do we have any questions? If we have no questions, you can definitely start by wishing me a happy birthday, because it was my birthday a week ago. So what cars do you guys drive? I want to hear in the comment section below. Sound seems okay, so the sound seems to be fixed, Pete. All right, so any questions? I am here to answer your questions. Charging, battery sizes, you name it. Enemulta, electricity scheme. The cars, awesome cars behind me, right? We've already seen them on the channel. We've got the Ioniq 5, Ioniq 6, and behind it, the all-new Hyundai Kona, one of the most recent videos to come out on the channel, right? We not only did the tech review on that car, but also we took it out for a drive. And my personal favorite feature of that vehicle has to be the regen. I think Hyundai really have their regen toned in, and they do give us the control, right? So a lot of brands do a lot of different things with the regen, but I think with Hyundai, we have all the options available to us, and I like that a lot. So we have, of course, the auto regen, we have the pedal regen, which also allows you to press the pedal and adjust, right? So you can actually drive the car without using your feet. So you're using the pedals just to brake, which is an awesome experience. I do suggest you try out for yourself. Excellent. So I'm seeing what cars you are driving. Any questions out there? Awesome. Let's see how many people want to win a t-shirt here. Not the t-shirt, sorry, hoodie. Even better than the t-shirt. We're giving away a hoodie here. 45 people want to win a hoodie. All right. So your odds are 1 in 45. We'll see if any more people submit to the hoodie to the hoodie contest. We have our first question. Thank you, Kevin. I am currently looking at electric vehicles, but I've been hearing rumors that hydrogen may put electric out in a short period of time. What is your opinion? Okay, excellent question, Kevin. So let's talk a bit about hydrogen. So first thing you have to understand about hydrogen is there are two different types of technologies. We have something called the hydrogen fuel cell technology and hydrogen combustion. Now, hydrogen combustion has two big problems. One, the pollutants that come out of the exhaust pipe are not only water, right? They are very harmful as diesel emissions, if not worse. Another problem with hydrogen combustion as it stands today is the fuel tank for a hydrogen combustion system needs to be so large that it currently doesn't make any sense to store hydrogen to combust it. You'll get literally no range. You hear people sometimes complaining that electric cars don't get range, where with a hydrogen combustion car, you would have even less range than the cars behind me. But then there's hydrogen fuel cell. What is hydrogen fuel cell? So hydrogen fuel cell stores hydrogen in a tank once again, but it does a process where it converts that hydrogen in the car itself to electricity. That electricity is stored in a lithium-ion battery, very similar to the batteries in this vehicle. And just to make it clear, the battery of a hydrogen fuel cell vehicle is actually very large as well, okay? We're not talking like a small hybrid battery. This is a sizable battery. Once the energy is in that battery, it will essentially drive an electric motor. So in theory, not in theory, in practice, a hydrogen fuel cell vehicle, right, is essentially an electric car. The only difference is instead of storing the electricity directly in a battery, it is storing it as hydrogen, converting it to eventually drive an electric motor nonetheless. So in principle, this makes perfect sense. And here we do not have any harmful emissions, right? What's the problem? Well, given there's so many conversions from hydrogen to electricity, etc., the cars behind me, the full electric vehicles that are here today, right? They essentially are a lot more efficient. The efficiency of a hydrogen fuel cell vehicle is essentially the same as your petrol or diesel cars of today, which isn't that great, right? Today's cars, essentially, you get between 25% to 40% at really best case efficiency. What does that mean? That means that when you go to give your money to fill up your gas, only around 30% of that money, forgetting all the taxes, right? Only 30% is actually being used to move you forward, which last I checked is what we want to do with a car. Electric vehicles do not suffer from this. An electric car, all the electricity that goes inside it, practically all, 95% of the money you're spending on electricity to put inside the car, it all goes to the motor, to the wheels, and that's what moves you around. So electric cars are 95% efficient. So those are my thoughts on hydrogen, okay? I think the brands will continue to develop it because I think it's fair for them to diversify their strategy, right? To make sure they're sort of checking the boxes wherever the future goes. But if we just look at the data in terms of efficiency and what makes the best sense, well, in my opinion, what makes the best sense is already here, right? It's the full electric vehicles, which, let's be honest, are only going to get better from this point onwards. All right, excellent question on hydrogen there. What efficiency do you get with your EV? A second question here. So this is a great question. So what is efficiency? Let's start with that. So efficiency essentially is your miles per gallon, right? Which these days have been converted to essentially kilowatts or kilowatt hours per 100 kilometers. So how many units of energy is the car using to drive 100 kilometers? So this ranges, right? Of course, it ranges depending on the size of the vehicle, okay? Now, what's interesting here is here in Malta, the cars I've tried, right, they can range from around 15 kilowatt hours per 100 kilometers all the way up to, say, 20 to 25 kilowatt hours per 100 kilometers. So that's really the range, okay? Remember, in Malta, we have low speeds, right? So the electric motor isn't being run at high power, so the energy draw is going to be low. What's interesting when we talk about efficiency is if we go back, say, 3 years ago, most cars were getting around 20 kilowatts per 100 kilometers, and we've already seen today that with today's technology, without changing the current battery tech, cars are already getting a lot better. And we've seen some tests out there from a number of brands who have already gone down to 10 kilowatts per 100 kilometers. This is a big thing, right? Because this means that with the same battery size, without having to increase the size of the battery in the vehicle, which is a very expensive component, right? we are essentially doubling our range. So if you drop your efficiency from 20 down to 10, you effectively double your range. So efficiency is going to play a huge role, okay? Not so much on cost. Once in one of my videos, I remember I was driving a car and I noticed that it gave me an efficiency of say 18, and I had driven another car which gave me an efficiency of 15. And I tried to look at the cost difference per year of what this actually means, but electric cars are so cheap to run. The difference between those two cars was a couple euros, right? So it's not even worth looking at it from a cost point of view. But from a range point of view, this is going to make a big difference. So a lot of questions are coming in, so I'm going to see what else we have. What is the most exciting electric car to come out in 2024, in your opinion, or why? So I'm going to change this question a bit. Thank you, Daniel, right? Obviously, I want to be respectful of Hyundai who are supporting this video after all. But I think more than car, we are going to be talking a bit later about a specific feature, which I think people are not appreciating what it means, not only for cars, but for society as a whole. Little teaser there. We could come back to it later. So we're going to take a short break. I'm going to show you some awesome vehicles from the Motors Inc. company. We could come back to it later. So we're going to take a short break. I'm going to show you some awesome vehicles like me and you're very busy, it may be difficult, right, to come and see these awesome cars in the showroom. That's why Motors Inc. are organizing this open weekend, so you can come here in your free time in the weekend and you can, of course, enjoy these vehicles you're seeing right behind me and all the other brands that Motors Inc. of course have available over here. So make sure you check them out during the open week. We have some more great questions coming in. So we have Jeremy here asking, could you explain about charging, whether to charge till 80% every time or to charge to full essentially. So this is something that comes up quite a lot, okay? And I think the best recommendation I can give here is to always follow the brand recommendation. So some cars, you will notice in the charging screen that they recommend to charge to 80 or to 90% of the battery, so not to full. Other brands, you'll notice that they do not do this. Why is this different? Well, the chemistry in the batteries from the different cars is going to be slightly different. Another thing that's going to be different is something called the battery buffer. So basically, our cars, if we say a car has a 50 kilowatt hour battery, it generally has a usable capacity which is less than that, say 45 kilowatt hours. So there's a 5 kilowatt buffer which ensures that the battery is never actually at 100%, even when you charge it seemingly to full. Research has shown us that this is better, yes, for the batteries. So all cars have this buffer. Brands have different buffers between even the different models of cars. So some have sort of taken care of this for you. Others give you the option to essentially recommend to charge the battery less unless you absolutely need 100%. So moral of the story, I would recommend you see what your current car manufacturer recommends, and I would go with that recommendation. Great question. I'm interested in getting an EV, but I'm worried for the lack of charging options and charging stations. So yes, this is a concern which I fully understand. I think anybody who has access to a garage and thus electricity in that garage, I think it's it's a no-brainer, right, to switch to an electric vehicle in that case. But if you do not have access to a garage, the first thing I would recommend is I would look at your place of work. See if you can get the company you work with to install chargers over there. Why? Because this is where you're going to spend most of your time anyway, right? Parked over there. So that is another option. Of course, there is the public network, right? But those of you who follow the group, I'm not going to lie here, this is oftentimes a bit unreliable because there's so many factors, right? There's people who park and block the charging bay, right? Sometimes they don't work. So there are a number of issues. But I am going to leave you with a bit of curiosity. I'm not fully allowed to announce this, but I have heard some very good news when it comes to public charging. And we're just going to leave it at that, okay? Stay tuned, but because there's going to be some nice updates coming our way here in Malta. Alrighty. Excellent. Alexander here is asking us, what are your thoughts on the future battery technologies like solid-state batteries and sodium batteries? So this is interesting, right? Because we are here today, we are here with electric cars behind us because there was so much development starting from the 1980s towards lithium-ion batteries, which dominated the portable electronic industries. Our smartphones are possible because of the lithium-ion battery. Our laptops are possible because of this technology. And now it's become good enough to essentially power cars. And yes, I believe it is going to continue improving. What's interesting to note over here is that battery costs have dropped around 90% in the past 10 years. This is significant change, right? And they've dropped so much, not necessarily because there's been some huge innovations. They've dropped so much purely because of the scale-up of production that has taken place. And let me tell you, that scale-up is continuing and continuing strongly. So the cost on that perspective is going to continue dropping based on the technologies we have today. But of course, the next big thing, right, is solid-state batteries. So what are solid-state batteries? So it's interesting to note here that every manufacturer has claimed that they are currently investing big, and when I say big, I mean big with billions, okay, into solid-state batteries. So current battery technology has something called a liquid electrolyte, okay? And it is literally a liquid. It is the liquid in which the lithium ions, right, flow from one side to the other of the battery when you're charging it and discharging it, okay? Removing that liquid electrolyte and replacing it with a solid, hence the name solid-state batteries, gives you a number of improvements. Cost, reliability, safety, okay? These are all things that are going to come about from solid-state batteries. When can we expect them? Well, this is a bit of the holy grail, right? People say they've cracked it. Other people say they're close to cracking it. But so far, we do not have solid-state batteries in production-ready vehicles. But the industry, I did a video, right, where I tried to look at all the investments being made by the car companies, and I excluded the battery companies, right, so just the car companies. And the car companies alone, the legacy car companies alone, have invested into electrification, total, more than NASA had spent on the space program to put people on the moon. That is the level of commitment that currently exists towards electric vehicles. And solid state is something that's being chased after greatly. So I think solid state are going to be a big thing. Sodium batteries are also another big thing because it eliminates lithium. We often hear lithium's going to run out, lithium this, lithium that. My research says that lithium is not going to run out. The problem with lithium at the moment is it is very slow to mine lithium. So they start mining lithium today. It takes a whole year till that same lithium ends up in our cars. The process is so slow, right, that we have a bottleneck, okay? Sodium-ion batteries replace the lithium, and I assume that the production speed of this is faster, right? It is also cheaper. And sodium-ion battery, we don't have to wait. There are cars already in production at the moment with sodium-ion batteries. Not in Malta yet, but in China and other parts of the world, sodium-ion batteries are rolling out of the factory. So I think that is another technology we're going to be seeing really soon, more widespread. We have another question about batteries coming in. If charging an NCM battery once or twice a month, would it be detrimental to use a fast charger? The studies looking at battery health look at fast chargers using higher charging rates than normal. Okay, excellent question. So firstly, let's understand what NCM is. NCM is your nickel, cobalt, manganese battery that is a lithium-ion battery. It has been the most popular type of lithium-ion battery found in the cars. As of recently, we've seen a huge surge and switch towards LFP, lithium-ion phosphate batteries, which I believe will slowly take over most of the industry. Where they won't take over the industry is where you need your high performance. There we will stick for the time being to our NCM batteries. And the question here is it detrimental to fast charge? So I've seen a lot of research on this, right? And the research, you will find people who tell you yes, and you will find people who tell you no, right? But what I found is some of the earlier electric vehicles, think electric vehicles from 10 years ago, lacked one very important thing, which was battery cooling, right? So we were just letting the battery get hot as it is being charged, and when you're rapid charging a battery, it gets very hot, right? Today's electric vehicles, the absolute majority have battery cooling, and when you're charging your car, you will hear the cooling system turning on, right, and making sure it sticks to an ideal temperature of 25 degrees Celsius. And it is actually the heat which is a problem for the batteries. So nowadays, the school of thought is no, rapid charging, and let's define rapid here, 50 kilowatt hour plus on DC, right? Not your 22 or your 7 kilowatts at home. That's like very slow, right? 50 kilowatts plus, if your car has a cooling system, then it should not be detrimental to the battery health. Excellent question. So we have a question here from Alexei who says, can we change to another type of battery when the battery must be replaced? So firstly, this is obviously one of those things, right, that you hear the naysayers saying, right, which is you're going to have to spend so much money replacing your battery in 4 years, 6 years, 10 years. The number's always changing, right? So the first thing I have to make clear is the cars behind me, right, and to be fair, everybody in the industry here is offering an 8-year warranty on the battery pack. 8 years, where if this battery pack, for whatever reason, gives problems, they will replace it, and by problems here I mean extreme degradation, right? They will replace it for you, okay? Now, what's the reality here? The reality is the electric vehicles which have been on the road for so long, right? A decade, right? They're still going. They do not need new batteries, okay? We even have a lot of second-hand imports from Japan in Malta. We have a lot of them, okay? We have a video coming up on the channel where we go around Malta finding electric cars, essentially. And I was so surprised how many second-hand electric vehicles that came from Japan we have in Malta. These are cars with 80,000 plus kilometers on them, right? They're going just fine, okay? Going back a bit to the question, I diverted a bit there. Will we be able to change? We're going to have to see. or a different type of battery? We're going to have to see. That's going to depend a bit on the brands, okay? What I can tell you based on what happened so far, okay, if you look at one of the earliest electric vehicles from 12 years ago to hit the market, that had a 20 kilowatt hour battery. Now what happened over the years as it developed, a 40 kilowatt hour battery became available in the newer version of that car, and they left the battery pack backward compatible. So yes, there are people who took out the 20 kilowatt hour battery, not because it was bad, but because they preferred to upgrade to a new 40 kilowatt hour. And it was the same shape. It was literally a plug and play, so to speak. So this might happen in the future. We will have to see. Excellent. We've got plenty of questions here. Does high temperature in Malta have a negative impact on battery life and range? So, great question. Does the high temperature have a negative impact on the battery life and range? So battery life, yes, heat can have can cause an issue on the degradation of the battery. But this is where battery cooling comes into play. Because if the battery is maintaining its temperature of 25 degrees Celsius, it's irrelevant what the outside temperature is, right? So I always look at an electric car and I look if it has something called active battery cooling. What does that mean? It means the car will, irrelevant of whether it's being charged, being driven, or simply parked, it is going to maintain the battery temperature, which literally means you'll find it one summer's day when you're returning to it while it was parked in the sun. The car will be turned on, right? It will have the fans blaring, okay? And it will essentially be cooling the battery. So in that case, with the cooling technology, the heat is not an issue. You will see, like we see with the extreme cold, a slight degradation in the range. Why? Because power is being used to cool the battery. I'm going to show you some awesome videos. We're going to be right back here. And Pete, play the ad.
Noah, let's go.
The all-new Kona Electric. Live unlimited.
All right, we are back. Again, I'd like to thank Motors Inc. for their support with this live stream. I also want to thank Peter here, who's helping out with all the technical today. And of course, all the guys here from Hyundai and Motors Inc. who've stayed here with us on this late night to make this possible. So thank you very much to everybody here supporting the video. And of course, you guys who are tuning in from home. So what else do we have? We have some more questions coming in. I charge my battery, Adrian says, I charge my battery to full, and when I recharge it again after a couple of days, I saw that it didn't give me the full kilometer range. Why is this? Great question here. So most of the times, we need to understand that the kilometer rating that the car gives, one is an estimate, it's called a guesstimation, right? So the car is assuming or trying to calculate how much range you'll actually get. It might be accurate, it might not be fully accurate. Generally, it's close, of course. Why didn't you get that range? Well, certain things may be changing, right? So if the car feels that, say, the weather is getting hotter or getting colder, then you're not going to get the maximum amount of range of the vehicle. This is a momentary effect, right? It's not going to last, like it's not a permanent thing, right? Weather will change and the range comes back, okay? Your driving style also affects the efficiency of the vehicle and thus how much range you're going to get out of the car. So these are all factors that are coming into play. So electric cars, of course, you can see from my videos, we've got eco mode, we've got normal mode, and we've got sport mode. If you like to leave it in sports mode, you're gonna get a lot of torque and a lot of acceleration, right? But you're gonna lose a lot of juice along the way to do those burnouts, so to speak, right? So obviously, if you want to get the most range out of your vehicle, you can run it in eco mode, but honestly, normal mode I have found to be just fine in Malta, right? So it's gonna vary depending on these factors. Thank you, James. Thank you, Miles, for giving us some thumbs up on the setup here. All right. So hydrogen, we've already answered David, so you're gonna have to rewind back to earlier in the video, right, to check out hydrogen. And let me see what other questions we have coming in here. Why cannot an electric car that's all battery be used to jumpstart my Land Rover? I don't know, actually. Well, it's usually we jumpstart using the 12-volt battery, right? So, which electric cars, to be fair, still have at the moment. I think that's something that's about to be phased out as well. Okay. All right. What other questions do we have? What's your thought about when a small electric vehicle will have about 1,000-kilometer range? Do you think this will be achieved in the short 2 years, medium 5 years, or long 10 years term? I think that will be achieved in the medium term. So I do not see it happening in the next 2 years. What we're going to see in the next 2 years is the cheaper electric cars that we've all been shouting about. And of course, all the brands, right, have gone a bit more on the luxury side, and they've included so many features with these vehicles, right? And the prices are a bit high. What we're going to see in the next 2 years is cars which are electric, which are cheaper, which are smaller, right? We've had a lot of SUVs at the moment. So I think we're going to be seeing these cheaper electric cars, not necessarily adding to the range though. I think the range increase is around 5 years away when we're going to start seeing 1,000-kilometer range coming from smaller cars. But the question I ask, do we need 1,000 kilometers of range, right? Malta is literally 31 kilometers from one side to the other. And if you have easy charging facilities, honestly, even if you have to charge every day, if you have a car which gives you 50 kilometers of range, right? Even you have to charge every day. If it's convenient, it's convenient, right? So while I think we will start seeing greater ranges, I don't think we need 1,000 kilometers in an electric vehicle. Not in Malta, and probably not even abroad, right? What is improving, okay, and actually this is where Hyundai are one of the leaders here in terms of charging speed, how fast you can charge the vehicle. If you're going on long road trips, we did a long road trip on the channel, right? We drove from Leeds all the way down to here Malta, right? 3,000 kilometers. And of course, we're stopping to charge twice a day, supercharges, and then again at night, covering, 300 kilometer stretches every time. And our charging stops, I believe, if I remember correctly, were somewhere between 20 and 40 minutes. And charging speed, I have no doubt that it's going to improve. So we're going to start seeing those rapid charges getting shorter. The biggest problem about the charging times getting shorter is that when we're charging the car, right, and it took 30 minutes to charge, 30 minutes is a bit of an uncanny number, because with 30 minutes, you're not going to wait for it. But at the same time, you're not going to go, if you're going to go to have lunch, for example, it's a very fast lunch in 30 minutes, or use the restroom, okay? So I think them getting faster, I think will get us out of this little indecision what to do in my charging stop when, again, on a road trip. Okay. So we've got some more awesome questions coming in. So what is happening with used batteries locally? How and where are they being disposed? So great question here, Kevin. So to the best of my knowledge, we do not yet have a battery recycling facility. Surprise, surprise for all of those who believe that it's not the case. A lithium-ion battery is, by today's technology, 95% recyclable. But of course, we need a recycling plant. Now, interesting I found in one of my recent trips is that there's a German company here who's building a battery recycling technology. And what I loved about them is that they're not only building some factory in Germany and we have to ship these used batteries over there, is that they're building a system, a recycling system that is essentially in a bunch of containers, normal containers, right? They can ship to different parts of the world, so they can ship a few down to Malta, and we can recycle the batteries over here in Malta. So I think this is the best way forward. What is happening to use electric vehicle batteries today? So I have heard of some hybrid batteries being replaced. I have heard of some modules, not the full battery pack, of some modules or cells being replaced in the second-hand Japanese imports. Okay, so not replacing the whole battery, but replacing them. There are local companies who are collecting these batteries to either repurpose them themselves or to ship them overseas to the recycling facilities. Excellent question. Okay, I think it's time. I think it is now time to give away the hoodie. Let's give away the hoodie. Okay, so let's see. We've got nearly 50 people here who want to win the Future is Electric hoodie. All right, so. All right, so I am going to draw a random number virtually here, and then I will check with all the responses we've received, and the winner will be going home with their own Future is Electric hoodie. And the winner is participant 44. It is a she. Gabi Shwirep, you are the winner of our Future is Electric hoodie giveaway. You may pick your size, you may pick your color. I will email you maybe tomorrow, not after the show. We've got a lot to tear down after the show. We'll do that tomorrow. But you are the winner of the Future is Electric hoodie. For the other participants, I am sorry you didn't win, but you can check out the Future is Electric merch store, which I am about to link in the comments, and you can support the channel nonetheless by getting your own hoodie, your own t-shirt, right? And, you know, all the merch. You need to have merch. It's only legit with merch. All right, it is 8:41. Some more questions, and then I've promised you a big surprise. We have a good surprise coming. You do not want to miss the surprise. All right, so let's see. We have a question. We have a question. Oh, he's skipping the line here, Pete. Ooh. Thoughts on hybrid versus full electric. Okay, so I mean I am convinced at this stage that for an island like Malta, full electric is the best way forward. Again, these cars are giving so much range. I mean, the cars behind me, so they come with different battery size options. So you can get a small battery, you can get a big battery, but we're looking at a minimum 300 kilometers of range. That is the equivalent to what an average driver here in Malta would cover in a whole week. So by minimum, the average driver is charging just one charging session per week. They also go up to over 500 kilometers, right? So if you want to delay, if you drive a lot, / want to charge less frequently, that's also possible. So I think full electric is the way to go. One thing we have to mention about hybrids, right? Hybrids have a small battery pack, okay? The thing that degrades the batteries, lithium-ion batteries the most is usage, okay? Now in a hybrid vehicle where the battery is charging, discharging every single day, you're gonna get your charge cycles, your 1,500 charge cycles. That's the industry standard, right? It means the battery can be charged 1,500 times before it needs to be replaced. You're gonna get to those charge cycles rather quickly. Our phones are also 1,500 cycles. What's the difference? You charge your phone every night. So 1,500 charge sessions, if you do the math, it's around 4 years. And that's usually when you start to say, the battery on my phone's a bit, you know, it needs a bit of a replacement here. The cars, full electric cars, also give you 8,500 cycles, and newer ones on the market give all the way up to 5,000 charge cycles. Run the math. 8,500 charge cycles, charging just once per week. That is a very, very long time. All right. Is the surprise a V12 diesel? No, it's not. All right, more questions, more questions. Let's see. What do we got? What do we got? All right, I think, Pete, I think it's time for that surprise. What do you think? I can't hear you, Pete. You gotta shout here. What? Open day, yes, of course. Yes, we're gonna show you the open day. Again, as I said earlier, if you're busy, right? And you work a 9 to 5, which is, I know, most of us here, and you don't have time to come and see these awesome cars in the showroom. And I've commented and I will do this again. The Kona, you have to see it, okay? The pictures do not do it justice, okay? You have to come to the showroom and you have to see these cars. If you don't have time during the week where there is going to be an open weekend, you can come and check out the cars. But Pete, without any further ado, it's time for the surprise of the evening. Let's do it. All right, I've promised you a surprise. Well, here it is. So we're going a bit behind the scenes now. So let me show you a bit the setup we have here today. So behind me here, this is our first light. It's called a backlight for those who want to know. That's not an ordinary light, right? That's 300 watts of light. Also lighting me right above the camera is another 300 watts of lighting. Down here it's a big confungal of wires. And we also have back here our setup to stream, you know, the camera, the laptop, and basically everything's connected to these extension cables here. Now, if you just follow me, we'll go this way. Here we have another 300 watts, so that's lighting the cars, okay? And if you follow me this way, basically we have another extension running all the way through here. That splits off over here. And all the way back there, up there, behind the cars, you have to move a bit this way. So back there, we have another 300 watts of lighting, right? And here's the thing though, all of these lights, the laptop, my laptop, everything we're using for the stream is essentially being powered from this Ioniq 5. This right here, this is the future. Oh man, V2L, vehicle to load. So this is a feature that at the moment actually is quite unique to Hyundai. There are some other brands, I'll be honest, which have it, but not the vast majority yet. So vehicle to load, you basically get an adapter that plugs into the car, and essentially you get a normal 3-pin outlet. And I mean, I showed you all the lights, right? The car can actually output even more than what we are giving it today, right? I believe, I'm not 100% sure on the number, but I believe the maximum it can output at one go is something like 3.4 kilowatts, right? So 3,400 watts coming out of the car. So I think this technology is revolutionary, right? I don't think we appreciate what this means, not for cars, but for society as a whole. So when those naysayers tell you that, oh, we're going to have power cuts and you're not going to be able to charge your electric car because of the power cuts, you tell them, no, I'm going to be powering my house using my electric car, essentially, because it has a huge battery. The battery can run a home, you know, it can run a flat for several days in Malta, the capacity of the battery of these cars, right? And a home for a couple or 3 days, okay? So the battery packs are huge. And what I love the most about this is only the start. We've got a vehicle to load. That's here. That's right here. It's literally here live, right? But the next big thing here is something called V2G, Vehicle to Grid. So what happens when we've got 420,000 vehicles, that's the amount we have on our roads in Malta, believe it or not. What happens when you have 420,000 lithium-ion batteries with enough storage inside them to power houses for several days on end, which are portable? So the next big thing, and a lot of the brands are already testing this out in pilot projects, is for the cars to do this V2G technology, vehicle to grid. And it won't be 3.4 kilowatts, right, coming out of the car. We're talking 20 kilowatts at one go coming out of the car. And you're like, but why would I want to do this, right? If the car is mine, why would I want to let them take my power, right, and feed it off to the grid? Well, your car then becomes essentially something which can make you quite a bit of money, because the power service provider here will essentially pay you, the car owner, who's plugging his or her car into the grid, okay? And you're essentially being paid for the service. So at 8 p.m., that's the worst time, right? When the power cuts will start happening, hopefully we won't have them next summer, but when they start happening, you can rest assured it's going to happen between 5 and 8 p.m., because that's when everyone's at home turning on their air conditioners, okay? When that comes, when the grid needs the most amount of load possible, that's when V2G comes in. And the batteries, not the power station, the batteries in the cars start giving power to everyone in the community. But let me tell you, at 4 a.m., everybody goes to sleep and the power consumption goes down. So then the grid, the power station, has ample power, right, to give out. And at that point, it will give that power that the cars gave back to the cars. But of course, you get paid your fancy commission for offering the service, okay? I haven't heard that as a nation we are working on this yet here in Malta, okay? But it is being piloted a number of places around the world. From my little understanding of the system, right? I think it would be, if we had this technology, we would not have had the blackouts we had last summer, because we were told the blackouts didn't come from the power station not giving out enough demand, but it was the various feeds coming and feeding the towns which were failing. Well, if the power was coming from the cars, we wouldn't need the power coming from those feeds. Okay, so this is something that's really going to be a huge game changer going forward. Electric isn't the future. Yes, Joseph, electric is the present. I like that. Awesome. Guys, we've got 8 minutes left, okay? Time for 8 minutes worth of questions. We've given away a hoodie, okay? If you weren't the lucky person, if you weren't Gabby who won the hoodie, check out the store. You can support the channel there, okay? And get yourself a Futures electric hoodie. Yes, Pete? Elon Musk what? Elon Musk applied for a hoodie. I doubt that. Okay. He can afford to buy a ton of them. All right, what we got? Oh, Alexander says, do vehicle-to-load cars have a different battery type in order to be capable of vehicle-to-load? That's an excellent question. I don't fully know the answer, actually. I don't believe so. I believe it has something to do with the inverter in the car, which is actually allowing this to take place, not so much the battery per se. Again, relatively speaking, that 3,400 watts coming out of the car is a small amount compared to how big the battery size is. So I don't think it has to do with the battery, more the inverter inside the vehicle. Excellent. We've got time for some last questions here. Have I convinced you to go electric? All right? Make sure you come to the open weekend, right? And see these awesome electric vehicles right behind me here, because I don't want to sound too dramatic here, right? But I think going electric is quite a huge lifestyle change. It obviously becomes so much cheaper to commute, right? So we're lucky here in Malta that license fees for electric vehicles are essentially €0 for the first 5 years, and presently €10 after that. I know long term that is going to change, right? Because that's how we put money in the system to essentially build our roads and whatnot. So I know that will change eventually, but for the time being, if you're courageous enough, so to speak, to be an early, again, so to speak, adopter, right? There's a lot of benefits. Of course, an electric car is so much cheaper than a petrol car, okay? And this is even remembering the fact that petrol prices in Malta have been extremely subsidized, especially over the last 3 years, right? So if these subsidies don't exist on petrol, and it's been hinted that these subsidies are going away, right? Because we can't afford to keep racking up debt as a country to offset something that's of clearly long term, then an electric car is going to become way cheaper, much cheaper than it already is now. Okay, so if you're thinking about going electric, let me tell you, I would do it. All right. Any more questions? Did I miss any questions? Did I miss any questions here? What are some emerging trends or developments that could shape the future of electric mobility? Excellent question. I think this vehicle-to-load and vehicle-to-grid is going to be a huge technology. Hyundai were one of the first to launch this, but all the brands are going to catch up and roll this out as well. I think this is going to be a big thing, big implications. I think another thing people do not appreciate, and of course, when I do my driving reviews on the channel, I always talk about this. And from my research, I find that not many traditional, let's say, car reviewers talk about this. It's the safety features inside the vehicles. It's incredible when you drive these cars these days. The level of safety it's insane. It's like magic. The steering, I don't want to oversell it, right? But to a certain degree, you are supervising the car. Okay, we're not there yet, but honestly, I've turned on the auto steer feature even here in Malta, where we complain that the lines on the road aren't great. And let me tell you, the steering starts turning, the pedals work themselves, the car's auto brake. I have a video coming up on the channel where I tested what's called the traffic jam assist in one vehicle, and I literally touched no pedals, and I did not touch the traffic. I didn't touch the traffic. I didn't touch the steering or the pedals while I was stuck in traffic. And the car here in Malta literally drove itself. Okay, this is an incredible feeling, and I can't imagine people who are still using clutch, brake, and gas in the morning traffic. Okay, this is why everyone's grumpy. Get an electric car, press the button, it drives itself, guys. Okay, so I think the safety features in the cars is just incredible. And not only the steering and the lane keep assist, but the automatic emergency braking, which is so incredible, right? So that's using the radars in the front of the vehicles and the camera in the windshield of the vehicles. And I've had this in my car for 3 years. It just works so well. So I've never emergency braked. That's a good thing. But I've gotten the warning several times, and you realize that you're just ever so slightly distracted, right? And somebody in front of you does something weird, like veer off or start braking, and the car, obviously, because it's using electronics, is going to react faster to you. Okay, if I ever don't react, then of course the car emergency brakes. I think that is just making cars so much safer. So safety features, I think, are a big thing. Do we have any? I think we have time for one last question. As a general rule, should one charge slowly for a long time or using a fast charger for a short time to extend the battery life? I discussed this a bit earlier, David. In my opinion, I do not believe, with today's technology and from the research I've seen, that it makes a difference. Because the vast majority of cars here have battery cooling, which means what degrades the battery is the heat. Okay? And if you have battery cooling, the battery is not heating up because it's staying at the ideal temperature. So whether you're charging slow or fast will not make a difference nowadays. At least that's what the research is showing us. Okay? Are you worried that cars are going to become over-computerized? Maybe, but let me tell you, I can't wait till we have full self-driving cars. I don't end on a sad note here, but I mean, there's 1.5, I think, million road deaths per year, and I think self-driving cars are going to help in bringing that number down. So I personally want the self-driving features in the vehicles. Guys, it is 9 o'clock. I'd like to thank everybody for tuning in. I'd like to, as usual, thank Peter for all the technical, Motors Inc. for hosting us here this evening, and of course, you, the viewer. If you've commented, you're already a subscriber of the channel. If you're not a subscriber of the channel, make sure you subscribe. If you want to help support merch, get some merch, okay? I mean, merch. You can also join. There's a join button underneath the stream. You can join as a member, where basically it's a couple euros a month, okay? It helps pay for my charging, okay? I appreciate it, but honestly, it does help out the channel. We're trying to grow this as much as possible, okay? So it does help out the channel a lot. And you get some perks, of course, by helping out the channel, like getting to watch my videos a lot earlier. I usually receive questions about when can I watch this video. I'm like, yeah, it's out in 2 months' time because we're shooting 2-3 months in advance. Okay, so you can join and help over there. All right, but as always, I hope I've convinced you that the future is electric.